Ciao amici, I'm Master Leo Spizzeri, and today I'm going to show you an amazing dough that you can do at home without any fancy equipment, simply using your hands, a bowl, and some basic ingredients. Ladies and gentlemen, join me. I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Neapolitan dough at home. Let's go. "35 years, this never gets old." I'm going to start scaling out my ingredients, and this is really important. I know there's a lot of people, including my buddy over here on set, that's a CIA certified chef, and there was one particular guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's got like a red beard, right? And he was telling me, like, why do you even have to weigh anything?
That's not funny, Leo.
Go and get yourself, literally, Amazon. I know your wife every single day has packages showing up at your doorstep just like mine does. Go and get yourself, it's under $20. Get yourself a digital scale because it's important. Now, I'm gonna start scaling everything up. To get this, I'm gonna go through my recipe real fast with you, all right? So we're gonna use 800 grams of this 00 flour. I've got 1 bottle of water, which is 500 milliliters or 500 grams. I've got 25 grams of sea salt that I'm gonna do. And finally, 5 grams of instant dry yeast. It's not one of these full packets. So now that we got that out of the way, I need my bowls. I'm going to set this up, and what I'm going to do is when I turn this on, I'm going to hit a button that says tare, T-A-R-E. What tare is going to do is it's going to subtract the weight of this bowl so that we're not weighing the bowl in our total of flour. Now that my scale literally says 0, I can go ahead and I'm going to put this 800 grams of flour directly in here. And this is something that you guys can do ahead of time, do it fast, but just like any professional chef would tell you, your mise en place is important. This is a pizzaiolo's mise en place. Scale everything out first before you start, and then once you're ready to start, it's literally just start mixing. You're gonna use your hands, it's gonna be awesome. I'm almost there, let me get all this out. Perfect. Flour, done. Yeast, done. Water, done. Last thing is my salt. Again, different size bowl, really important. Hit the tare button, get yourself to 0. CJ preferred not to open this. I just busted an ace chop, so why not a little CJ too, right? Okay, here we go. I need 25 grams of salt. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but I took the lid off, right? I've done enough of these to know that you're gonna shake this through here, and it's gonna take you about 2 hours to get it through there. So just take the lid off. All my ingredients are set, and I'm ready to go. Let's get this out of the way. I'm gonna bring the big bowl over. First thing that I'm gonna do is add all of my water inside here, all right? We're gonna start with the water. Water is cold. Again, this is gonna be a dough that doesn't need a lot of time to sit around. When we're done, I'll tell you about the process of putting this away, but a little bit of cold dough never hurt anybody because it's gonna slow this down. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my sea salt, I'm gonna stick it right inside. With my hands, this is, if you're a chef, if you're an up-and-coming chef, if you're a home amateur, the best thing I can tell you is the best tool you got is your hands. So with your hands, get inside here, and we're gonna stir this until I dissolve all the salt. From here, out of my flour, I'm gonna put, I don't know, just a good little amount, just like this. If I had to make a guess, that's about 10%, right? With my hand, I'm gonna give this a little stir. The best way I can tell you to do this is, imagine that you're one of those little kids growing up watching professional wrestling, like I was, right? Do you remember the iron claw? Lift your hand up, make the iron claw, turn it sideways, and now you've got the best whisk in the world, right? So use the iron claw, we're gonna get inside here. As I'm using my hands, I'm literally using the flat side of my hand and kind of scraping the sides of the bowl. This is gonna get all of that flour in. Now that we've created like this very loose, almost like crepe batter consistency, right? This is the perfect time to add the yeast because we've created a barrier of gluten between the salt and the yeast, and you're gonna have plenty of water to melt this. The best way I can show you to do it, Ethan, come over here. Put it right here. The best way I can show you to do this is take the yeast and kind of let it just kind of sit on top of this water. As this sits in the water is going to get into those individual granulars of yeast, right? And you'll almost know when the water is in the yeast because the yeast molecules, or these little granulars, get so heavy because now they're engorged with water that they start to sink, right? In the time that I took to tell you that, it's literally happening right now. Again, let's go and take this, and I'm going to simply just start mixing this here. Now you'll notice 4 simple ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast, and we've already got 3 of them in there, right? So the final game here that we need to play is we're going to continue adding about 10% of that flour at a time. Think of, I don't know, Bob Ross. Right? You remember that dude who used to be the painter, right? He'd start with a white canvas, and then next thing he has a brush and puts a little bit of blue, and he's got the clouds and the mountains, and then by the time he's done, he had like National Geographic on that thing, right? So think of this as the blank canvas, and little by little, I'm going to start putting in some of the clouds, and we're going to be doing, here's the birds coming, all that kind of stuff, right? So simple, guys. I don't know how else I can show you a simple dough to start with this, and I'm telling you, those of you guys out there, you got a brand new girlfriend, you got a wife that never sees you in the kitchen, the best thing I can tell you is learn how to make this dough and then show them that you actually mixed the dough by hand and made them a pizza. Listen, your girl's not going to give you 1 kiss, but 2. 1 on each cheek, right? That's what I love. Now that I've done this, all my flour is in the bowl. You can see that this dough inside of this bowl has a lot of flour still on the bottom. There's a lot that's still sticking on the sides. I'm going to use what's called a bowl scraper, right? A bowl scraper has this curved edge just like this, and it's literally made to get down the sides of the bowl and underneath this dough. I'm going to take this on the sides, and I'm going to start cleaning up the sides of my bowl. As I'm cleaning up now, the flour that was on the sides of this bowl is now kind of sitting underneath. And my action here, come here, Ethan. My action here, as I'm coming underneath, this is physically coming under this dough, right? And as I'm kind of turning and scraping, I made that one single movement that now the wet side of the dough is down. And again, I'm encouraging it to stick to this dough. This dough here, I'm going to put onto the counter. There's still flour and some bits and pieces here like this, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of this in front of me. And I promise you there's a reason to my madness, okay? Because when you start kneading, you're kneading forward, right? So if the flour that's left over, this stuff here is in front of you, it'll pick up and fold into the dough. We want to let this move along with us. I'm moving forward, and then with my fingertips, I'm rolling backwards. Once you have this to this like oblong shape, right? Maybe a nice, I don't know, Chipotle burrito or something, whatever you want to call this thing. Take the dough, turn it sideways, and we're going to fold this and turn it one more time. What's happening is those layers, I just went this way, rolled it this way. I turned it sideways, and now I'm going to roll it this way. So those layers of gluten are going to be overlapped. It's going to give us strength, it's going to give us extra bubbles, and at the end of the day, it's going to allow you to stretch this dough literally the size of a tablecloth, and it won't break. This is the most critical part of what we're about to do. I'm going to take this dough, and we need to let it rest. You can easily take this dirty bowl and put it over the top. It's not a big deal. There might be a little bit of flour in there, it's going to hit the top, it's not a big deal. What I like to use, I've got a piece of plastic, right? I'm going to take this just like this. No oil, nothing on the counter. This is really important. Just the way it is, I'm going to take this plastic and I'm going to kind of fold it underneath here, right? Let's give this 15 minutes, covered with some plastic. If you don't have a sheet like this, grab yourself some plastic wrap. That's fine too. Use the back of a bowl, whatever you want to do, I'm fine. Just the idea is that we don't have air getting to the top of this, creating a skin, right? So we'll let this rest for 15 minutes and we'll come back when it's done and I'll show you the next step. And we're back. So I want to take a look at the fruits of our labor. We went through this whole process to make this beautiful dough. We let it rest, and I want to show you the reason why we let it rest. When I tell you you're going to look like a rock star making this dough the first time out of the gate, I meant it. This size of a dough ball will make 5 265 gram dough balls. I literally want you to go and weigh these out. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna cut straight down onto the table until I physically feel the dough snap. And all of a sudden, I've got this beautiful clean cut. From here, I'm gonna go all the way down, and I've got my scale at 0, and let's find 265 grams. I'm gonna put a piece on just like this. I'm at 212, let's put a little bit more. And again, guys, don't be too concerned if you're at 268 or 260 or something like this. At the end of the day, we want a certain dough ball weight so they're really kind of uniform. So when you stretch these doughs and you get used to making these over and over, it's very familiar. You won't have to look down at what you're doing anymore. It'll almost become automatic. I'm gonna take all these doughs, and what I like to do is these pieces, I put them underneath and I put this to the side. Now, that little bit of plastic that we had earlier, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna keep covering these doughs because this will start to get a little bit of a dry skin on the outside. And if you don't cover your dough balls, when you stretch that dough, it'll look kind of like on the edge of that pizza, almost like if you ever looked at the top of your grandma's hand, right? It'll look the same way. I want you to notice, we didn't use any additional flour, and look, guys, it's not sticking. Follow the recipe. I promise you it's gonna be right every single time. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this dough and I'm gonna kind of square this off. The easiest way I can teach you how to make a dough ball, square the dough off. Now we've got 4 points. Take the points and fold them into the middle, and now you got one of your grandma's kolaczkis, right? Turn this sideways, the points fold to the middle. And I'm gonna continue folding the points into the middle until I feel like this dough is so tight that it's starting to get like almost like it's gonna rip. But when I turn this over, look at how beautiful and smooth this skin is. So what I'm gonna do is, all these ugly edges, I'm gonna take these with my finger and I'm gonna pinch just the outside edges, kind of like making like this little change purse, right? Or that Crown Royal bag, right? Whatever you wanna call this. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna pinch it down, and this is a perfect dough ball. From here, I'm gonna get my dough box. The last tip that I can give you before you put this dough away, you notice that I didn't put anything in the bottom of this dough box. No flour, no oil. It doesn't need anything. And there's a reason. Because as this dough now sits in proofs, it's gonna spread a little bit. The flour that's in the bottom of this box is gonna absorb into the bottom of the dough ball. So when we pull this out and you go to stretch that dough finally, you're gonna have this like weird ring of like caked on flour that won't shake off when you go and stretch the dough. It'll bake, and then whoever's eating your pizza is gonna end up eating that flour that's gonna be like caked on. And the same thing goes with olive oil. Unless I tell you to put olive oil in the bottom of the box, we don't want to put that, because the oil, when we go into our dusting flour, will cause the dusting flour to stick. And then when we stretch the dough, it'll do the same thing. That flour will be caked on, and it's not very good to eat. So that's my final tip. Put this dough now in the refrigerator for up to 24 hours, or let it proof until these dough balls are double in size, and then you'll be ready to make a pizza. This pizza sauce I literally just made, and the reason why we prefer to use a sauce that's been hand crushed is because it's going to give this gorgeous sweet flavor to this. If you were making a true Neapolitan pizza, we would use something called a slapping technique. And if you do your job right, you can see how beautiful this dough is opening up without a lot of pressure. With this method, this is exactly the way we would do a Neapolitan pizza in Italy. When you're baking inside of this oven, this temperature is going to be really hot. So to give yourself a beautiful green basil, if you're worried about burning the basil, I put it on the sauce and then I cover it with the mozzarella. This is going to protect it. But I will tell you that the idea with a margherita pizza is that the cheese should look spotted and you should see the tomato sauce underneath. Look at how beautiful and done this is. When you start making your pizza, go fast. Go with intention, put the stuff on, get it in the oven, and then you got room to talk. This is your classic traditional margherita pizza, as if you were in Napoli today. When you have the right equipment, the right ingredients, you can make a beautiful pizza. You guys want to eat some pizza? Absolutely. I'm Leo Spizzeri. Ciao, amici.